Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tiny Table 3. This is Small Stack in for Milo and Cloud City. We have a special edition today. We're going to be doing an interview with someone that is actually in the industry of filmmaking. Hopefully, we'll be doing a number of these interviews going forward. We're really excited that today we have Kim Bragalone.
Yes.
I got it right.
Bragalone.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Who is a makeup artist that has worked on a number of films and TV shows. And I have to say, the first time I nerded out with you and what you did, we were actually at Comic-Con, and she was looking for a place actually to set up, I guess, rest. I think you were just trying to rest at the time.
I just needed somewhere to sleep.
But it was Supergirl had just premiered,
yes,
and you were doing work on Supergirl, which now has become like an ultra hit. I remember watching the trailer thinking, I'm not sure if this is going to work out, but now they've done all the crossover stuff with the Flash and Green Arrow. And it's actually one of the best of the CW superhero shows.
Is it? I've seen a couple episodes. One of my clients is actually on that show, and she loves it. Britt Morgan, she's lovely, but
what happened to you, Leslie?
It's really great. Yeah.
Do you really care how or why? Not particularly.
You don't have to do this. Let me help you.
Good as is.
So
it was really fun.
Tell us a little bit about what you do. What's the life of a Hollywood makeup artist like? I'm guessing like it's probably not a lot of sleep and a lot of stress.
When you're working on television, we're talking 12-hour days definitely. Yeah, sorry, I'm bumping your mic here. 12-hour days definitely, but
because you guys normally start like you when you start the shoots, you're like in like before sun up. You know?
So I go in a lot earlier than most of the crew because I like to get myself settled first before the actors come in.
Right.
And then, we start working right away. So I would say I work 14, 15-hour days. And then if you're on a show like this last show that I was on, you're doing 3 months at that, 5 days a week, sometimes 6, depending.
So what show are you currently working on?
So there's a show called Swedish Dicks, which I love. Love the name, everybody. But it's about 2 private detectives in Los Angeles, and starring Peter Stormare, who is from Sweden. And he is he's an ex-step man who turns into a private detective. On his first case, he meets Johan. Johan's a Swedish comedian, and they go off together and do their little zany detective stuff. But it's great. It's like a dark comedy.
Awesome. Now, are you gearing up for a second season? Is that where you're at now?
Yeah. Okay. So we start second season in May, and I'm really looking forward to it. I had so much fun on that show.
Wow.
So
now, is it typical to have like a sort of a production schedule about 3 months for like the season? Is that how you did it?
Yeah, I mean, they start into production pretty early. They just started the writers actually a week ago, starting to really gear up and kind of fine tune all the scripts and everything.
Right.
And then I'll probably start a couple weeks before the season starts, so in pre-production.
Okay, so what's your day like? So like
early morning, get up, and I get in and I kind of just get myself into like a very zen mode because what I find is important being a makeup artist is that you've really got to take care of your actors, and you kind of set the tone for the day.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
So I like to make sure that all my stuff is out the door by the time the actors walk in so that I can focus on them, focus on the day. So it just depends on what the schedule's like. Some days we've got a huge cast, some days we don't. So I basically, the night before, I break out my schedule, I see what's going to happen, any special effects, any continuity, I get ready for the next day. And then the actors come in, get them ready, and off to set.
Wow.
And it's pretty fun.
Are you normally working like are you working out of a trailer? Are you like on location? Are you working during the shoot?
It just depends. It all depends on the day.
Yeah.
So the last show we were on a studio lot. I've worked out of trailers. I've worked out of the back of my car. I can work out of anything. So it's just you kind of learn to adapt to your environment and to what is happening, and everything moves very quickly.
Right.
So you just learn to grab your set bag. It's got everything in it. I never leave. Well, I've left some stuff out here and there, but and you go.
Yeah, I would imagine. Is it? I imagine a bit just tense. Is it like just like sort of high energy the whole time when you?
It depends. It depends on the production. Some productions run really slow.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes if you're going from shot to shot, they have to reset cameras, reset lighting, and you have a lot of downtime. There are some productions that know their shot right away, and they're on it, and that's how Swedish Dicks was. We moved so fast on that show. But it, you find your rhythm with the actors, you find your rhythm with yourself and the rest of the crew, and you're really dependent on food and good food. Good food is good to keep your energy up. And
I was going to ask you, like, so, I mean, you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but I mean, is it different? Is it like completely different moving from actor to actor? Like, I mean, do they each have like
depends.
a different?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Because you have your number one and your number two that you're very close with, that you, with a show like, let's take Swedish Dicks. With a show like Swedish Dicks, you have a lot of guest stars rotating in and out. And so obviously these actors are not familiar with the production, the crew, what happens on set. So you kind of gauge when they come in, and maybe they're in and out in one day, and you have a great time with them while they're there. Maybe they're just quiet and into their work. And so I think with every actor, at least I do, I try to find a common bond with them when they sit down in my chair. So I ask them a lot of questions of their preferences, so I know how to be with them on set, and make sure that they're taken care of, and I love it.
Now, do you have? I mean, again, maybe you can name names.
Yeah.
I mean, are there any like sort of like favorites, like people that you work with that, or it was not necessarily you may have like sort of geeked out and nerded out because like, oh my god, I'm like doing this.
Yeah.
But they were just like you didn't know what to expect, but they were just a true sort of joy to work with, like.
So one person that I admittedly was nervous about, which I think I can talk about, was Quincy Jones.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I got a call.
Oh my God, yeah. I'd probably pass out. That's definitely fainting for me, yeah.
What a lovely man that was. He was
Really?
so lovely. Oh my gosh. I remember leaving that day thinking to myself, this is why I love my job. This is why I got into this business, is to meet creative artists like this man.
See, that's cool to know, because like that's like legend. I would think someone like that, a producer of that scale, would be like hard to work with.
No.
But to hear like someone that's legendary, that is awesome.
Quite the opposite.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, because sometimes you're a little disappointed with somebody that's a genius. Because
no, I in my in being a music fan, as I am, as you know, I have met artists throughout the years just going to shows, and sometimes it can be disappointing, and you never know,
right?
Yeah. And he was amazing. I left that day. It probably sounds super geeky, but I left that day and I journaled because I wanted to remember. I wanted to not forget that how I felt and how he was and how
that's amazing,
gracious he was. Yeah, he's awesome.
Any crazy like on set stories?
We were kind of talking about this before. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Can you tell me, and without, again, no names, but any like sort of real challenging, like?
Yeah, there's been some challenging there. Sometimes I think that this industry sometimes on actresses and actors can be really difficult.
Sure.
And I think that because everyone is social media and Twitter and Instagram and all that, everyone is so accessible that there becomes a little bit of a protective wall up. Yeah. So I've had some challenges with something like a continuity photo, which I need for my job, but they don't want the photo taken of them.
Right.
Which doesn't really happen that often, because I think a part of job as an actor is knowing that you have to get these done. But I have come across that difficulty. Being a makeup artist is, of course you're an artist. You want to make them look beautiful. You want to make them look crazy, depending on the character. It just depends.
Right.
But there also is that level of trust that you have to maintain with your client. Yeah. And I think it's really important.
And I agree with you. I mean, I've met a number of people just being in music and I tend to give them a break, because I know that some of these people that they're under a lot of pressure. It's intense, and people aren't always the best to them. So I always kind of cut them some slack when people are, they're not going to be nice all the time. But.
Yeah, and everyone has their off day.
Absolutely,
and listen, I'm a fan of certain people. And when I have met certain people in my career, I have to hold my composure because I'm freaking out inside. And I think it's probably happened to all of us, in this industry.
Give me a nerd moment. Like, give me like some give me a couple just totally freak, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here.
Well, so I got hired for this job and they wouldn't tell me who I was working with.
That's a nice setup. Yeah.
They just said, you'll be grooming. And it was one of those, is it men? Is it women? They didn't even want to tell me that. I finally said, you have to tell me what's happening. And they're like, it's men. I'm like, okay, fine. So I show up and we're in this room and I'm at some radio station. I'm like, well, it must be a band, an actor. I don't know. I'm at I think it was Live Nation or Kiss FM at the time. I can't remember. And they were like, okay, they're almost here. And I'm like, who is going to walk through that door? The anticipation was crazy. And in walks Chris from Coldplay. Oh. And, I love Coldplay. I've been to their concerts. Right. I love their music. Parachutes is one of my favorite albums. And I'm sure I blushed. I'm sure I had a weird look on my face on some level. And he was very polite. And Johnny came in with him, and we did a video for their, I think it was X and Y album, or I'm not sure what album actually, but
that's awesome. That's so great.
So that was one of those freak out on the inside. I can't believe I
can see that, especially when you don't know who it's going to be, and it happens to be someone that that you
admire as an artist. Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Now, as far as getting into the industry yourself, I would imagine obviously anything in the entertainment field is incredibly competitive.
It's very competitive.
Extremely. How'd you get where you are? I mean, how did it?
I think, I think a part of it was perseverance. I think a little bit of luck, and I think a little bit of luck meaning right place at the right time. And I think it's how I am as a person because people keep hiring me over and over again. So I think that tends to be it. But it really started, I had worked for Mac years ago, and I ended up having a pretty terrible knee injury. And so I was off for about 8 or 9 months. And during that time, I decided, you know what, if I'm going to make a go at this, I got to build my book. I got to really push forward. And I went back to school. I took some classes. And then I just went for it. I got one break that kind of snowballed into a lot of things. An old friend of mine got me a job at Disney doing a press junket for Frankenweenie. And awesome. I had met the producer, Allison Abadi, and she is now one of my nearest and dearest friends. I love her dearly. I love you, Allison, if you watch this. And that day I worked with Martin Landau and Martin Short, and that kind of really kind of push things forward for me.
Martin Landau, that would kill me. That just
so great. He's such
amazing.
A nice man. I loved him.
Great to hear too. Yeah. Did you have have you worked on any would you think of as a specifically nerd kind of program that stands out to you?
Nerdy. Well, I did a commercial with the Flash and Arrow,
which
was really fun. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was like a
we're gonna have to look that up, guys.
It was a fight club, Super Bowl, or CW Fight Club with the Flash and Arrow. So I came onto set. And it was with all the artists with my agency, and we were
Jeff
working.
Gold, one of our co-hosts, is going to be so jealous when he watches this. He's going to have a talk with you.
It was kind of fun because they all had to dress up in their costumes. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, they're all dressed like the Arrow and the Flash, and at the time, Tom Cavanaugh was Reverse Flash, but no one knew it yet. And so just little things where you're like, there's so Victor Garber, and everyone is all together and doing crazy fighting. It was just fun.
That's amazing.
I mean, everyone, if you look up the picture, the Freeze was there. I mean, all these characters were there. It was really fun.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Any before we wrap it up, any advice you might throw out there for someone that wants to?
Yeah, I
jump into
mean,
the scheme?
I always say that if you want to be a makeup artist, I'd say find who inspires you and what inspires you. Is it as simple? Well, it's not simple, but as simple as bridal makeup, or do you want to get into special effects? Do you want to just do red carpet? Do you want to do TV film? They're all very different places you can go, and I would say definitely assist, get some lessons. The best thing that ever taught me was to be behind a counter and as a freelance makeup artist, because you're able to do so much makeup on different skin tones, different faces, different people, and you really can hone in your skill. And you're able to work very quickly too, because you want to get people in and out of your chair, right? Because you have to make your sales. So I always say that to people that ask me, the work behind the counter, it's not a glamorous job, but you will get better at your job. You will get good at it, and you will be able to pick out that foundation and pick out that eye color that's going to work for that person. So, I mean, that's how I started. And I mean, still to this day, I'm sometimes like, I wish I could go back to a counter just to kind of really just work and get creative and do more makeup. And, but I love my job, and I'm fine with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here.
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. It was great to talk.
I know. I had so much fun. Thank
not
you.
too scary.
No, not at all. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kim Bragalone.
Yes.
Makeup artist to the stars. And this is a small stack. Thanks again for joining us here at Tiny Table 3. Don't forget to check us out at tinytable3.com. Obviously, we're on a YouTube channel, so go ahead and click the subscribe button. And of course, check us out on our podcast at SoundCloud, iTunes, and hear this if you happen to be in Europe. Take it easy, guys, and we will see you next time.
Never actually read the book. Never actually read the book. Never actually read the book. No, I've never actually written a book. Never read a book from front to back.